What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode right here on the Hockey Edmonton Show on Edmonton Sports Talk. I'm YouTube Trev. This is Jeremy Halischuk. Jeremy, we've got a great show for you today. Watching at home, this is going to be a good one. Jeremy, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm doing well. Can't complain. And yourself?
Yeah, doing pretty good. This fine Saturday morning. It's birds are chirping. Actually, not really. It's pretty cold out there today, but it's been pretty cold all week. It's that time of the year. We can't be too picky because honestly, it's been a pretty tame winter.
Yes, it definitely has. You think that we're into the last few weeks here of November and really not much snow on the ground.
No, if any.
Exactly. And yeah, usually there are times where back in the day, I remember trick-or-treating in snow and Halloween. So
Yes.
yeah, we can't really complain about that.
I got a memory on my Snapchat. Do you Snapchat, Jeremy? Yeah.
I don't.
Okay, no, that's fair.
I do not.
But yeah, Facebook, right? The Facebook
Yep,
memories. You post something, and then it's like, this is you 5 years ago today. It was like 3 years ago today. I'm from the mountains in southern Alberta. I'm not even joking, close to 2 foot of snow. I'm like clearing off my car, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's not quite there yet, and hopefully it isn't quite there yet. But I do welcome this cold because that means the ODRs will be good pretty soon here.
Yep.
And I can't wait.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm on a Facebook group, yes, that has the ODRs, and you can see people just getting ready, getting
Yes.
eager, asking if they're open and that, and it's like, no, still a little bit away here.
Yeah, but you're starting to see the frozen puddles. The river's getting a little bit more ice on it, so you love to see it. And the new place that I'm at right now, not even joking, it's the best thing ever, is like, I was driving away. When I first got the place, I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I'm so excited. I turned the corner. There's 2 outdoor rinks right by where I live.
Nice.
So I can't wait. So I'm going to be spending all my time on the ice. And this might be the year that I make it.
Nice.
I'm going to go to tryouts. We'll see what I can do, Jeremy.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've got a jam-packed show for you today. This is it's actually a really special episode that we got coming your way. We're going to hear from special guest Brock McGillis. And Brock is actually... it's a very interesting story, and a huge shout out to Jeremy for being able to get Brock on the show. We're really excited. We're going to have a great conversation. But Brock McGillis, former professional ice hockey goaltender and LGBT plus advocate, joining us shortly here in a matter of minutes. So it's going to be cool. Like, he's one of the first openly, he came out early. It was quite some time ago, but he was one of the first players to do it in hockey, and we're going to have a great conversation. I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. We saw recent years, it was Luke Prokop as well for the Edmonton Oil Kings, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, yeah.
And so it's going to be a good conversation. It's going to be awesome. He's a huge advocate, and he's got tremendous stories. You look at the accolades, what he's been able to do over the years, People of the Year, Most Influential Person of the Year. Like, his story is actually very impressive. It's a really neat story, and it's going to be awesome to have him on. It takes a lot of guts to be able to do what he did, and he's talked about it quite a bit over the years, and we're going to shed some light on it a little bit more to the audience at the Hockey Edmonton Show. So he'll be joining us right away here, but it's a good grab you got there, Jeremy. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, we talk about how hockey builds better people and it builds a community, and definitely hockey has had its challenges in terms of the perception of it being welcoming and such. And I think that our sport is really doing a lot of legwork here to address that. Recently just came back last week from Ottawa for the Beyond the Board Summit put on by Hockey Canada. And, we had it was a very long day, but it was a very educational day as well. There was a lot of good conversation about some of the things that people's experience in the game, but more so, how do we, as leaders in the game, go ahead and make this game more welcoming? And again, it's not done intentionally. For the most part, I think the challenges and that sometimes that perceived environment, it's done through unintentional, actions, comments and such. And again, it's just off the cuff. And we were talking about this at our table about that at the end of the day, you really don't know a person, but sometimes, it's just been, built into you about just the reaction that you have when you're angry at somebody and such, and sometimes it's just even those words. Again, I might not know you at all. You might be a person that might be of a different lifestyle and such, and again, not knowing that and just reaction about you know yeah, using such words and such, really just doesn't become conducive to a welcoming environment. And again, not doing it intentionally, because again, like I said, I don't know you at all. So again, like I said, I think there's some good work that has been done, recognizing some of the issues, understanding other people's perspectives, and again, we want to build a community in the game. And that means we're bringing together people of every type of background, whether it be race, religion, sexual preference, all of that. We want to bring everybody into this game because it is a really great game. And again, if you truly love the game, you want to see it grow and prosper. And again, when we put up walls, either intentionally or unintentionally, that can't happen. So again, I think there's a lot of good work that has started and will continue to go on. And again, like I said, a lot of great work that Hockey Canada has done in recognizing some of the challenges in the game and taking action to actually start to address those challenges and such. So again, like I said, a lot of good conversation over the day. And it was it was very, very eye-opening. But again, we can take some of those things away as leaders in the game and start to implement them and just change the way we look at things.
Yeah, no, I mean, well said there, Jeremy. There has been a lot of change, but there's still room for improvement for sure. So this is something that we're going to discuss with Brock, who will be joining us shortly here. And this is the Hockey Edmonton Show. As always, guys, feel free to leave a like, drop a comment down below as we read every single one. And thanks for tuning in. Just quickly, you had mentioned Ottawa. Just can we touch on that right before we bring in Brock here?
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I said, we were there for Hockey Canada brought all of their branches in, and we were also lucky that Hockey Alberta decided to bring their two biggest minor hockey associations to be part of it as well, us and Hockey Calgary. So we went down there for a day and a half. The first part of the summit, or first part of their weekend and such, was focusing on the Beyond the Boards Summit, and yeah, we had a lot of good conversations. So we talked about some of the topics we're dealing with. What's the word I'm looking for here? The impact of potentially sexual violence, trans participation, as well as LGBT, or
Yeah,
gay and lesbian
for sure.
participants as well and such. So again, like I said, different perspectives. They did bring a lot of like I said, perspectives, eye-opening things, and such. And again, the big thing is there was a lot of good conversation to help us as leaders, minor hockey associations, to really start to make some tangible changes in the game. And we're not talking a lot of core things. They use the comment that we're not here to change hockey. Like, the game is still going to be the game. It's going to be the same game that everybody has been playing for years and years and years. It's what we're doing is just looking at different languages. Again, understanding different people's perspectives. And that's not really that difficult to do, is having that empathy and that understanding. So again, like I said, we're not changing the game per se. We're just, again, understanding different perspectives, and when we can bring in different perspectives and have a different understanding, the game just becomes more welcoming and such for everybody to play.
Well said. This is the Hockey Edmonton Show. I'm YouTube Trev. As always, drop a comment down below, guys, and leave a like, because we've got a very special guest and a very special episode, and someone, we can't wait to bring in, and we'll be bringing him in shortly here. But yeah, this is good, and so thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, we read every single comment, so definitely drop a comment down below. But right now, we bring in Brock McGillis, former professional ice hockey goaltender and LGBT plus advocate, joining us. Brock, can you hear me?
I can hear you. How's it going, guys?
Really good. Oh, this is awesome, Brock. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, man. Really appreciate this.
Oh gosh, my pleasure.
Right on. So I think we're just gonna get started right away here, and let's just start with just shedding some light on yourself and your story right away.
Yeah, so I was a hockey player. I'm assuming you know a few hockey players and uh, talk a little bit about hockey.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so I played in the OHL in Windsor and the Sioux. I played professionally in the States and in Europe, and in 2016 I came out as the first openly gay men's professional hockey player. For the longest time, I didn't think I could be me and play the sport I love. So I suppressed it, struggled a great deal, and it derailed my career in a sense. And sadly, it really impacted me.
No, for sure. I'm just looking at November of 2016. So you're coming around 8 years now. What has this past 8 years been like?
Sorry, I lost you there, cut out.
Yeah, no worries. So November of 2016, if I'm not mistaken, is when you did decide to come out. I can't imagine what you've been through the last 8 years, but and you probably have a lot of stories which we're going to dive into. But just to sum up the 8 years, man, what's it been like?
Honestly, man, it's been a ride.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine. I came out publicly thinking, I might help a few people. If anything, nobody can use my sexuality against me. Um, I was running hockey businesses in Sudbury, Ontario, and then I started getting calls from media, and then all of a sudden I was getting calls to speak, and before I knew it, I was traveling the world as a speaker and advocate, and it's not something I ever anticipated doing. It wasn't, on my radar, but the whole thing changed my life forever.
No, that's definitely something good to hear in terms of making a change in the game and such, and that's what we want to see, and just to make this game more welcoming. As somebody who is in the game, making a living in the game, I'm lucky enough to do it at the grassroots level. If you love this game, you want to see it grow and continue to flourish. And again, with folks like yourself, who's doing some great work there on advocating and just sharing your story, I think that we can really start to make that change. You talk about the burden of playing the game that you love, somewhat in secrecy, almost a double life essentially. How did you decide to come out and share your story? What was the real, like, what were your motivating factors there? Because again, kind of been through the game as a whole and such. Yeah, just want to hear kind of your thoughts there and some of the reasons why.
Yeah, so you're kind of right. I actually did live in secrecy. Like for the longest time, I suppressed who I was, and I adhered to the tropes of a hockey bro, like the stereotype. I was a womanizer. I partied hard. I was cocky. I acted like I was a gift to the world because I felt like I had to survive. The thing with hockey is, and like you said, like making a living in the sport, like hockey becomes a big part of your identity, right? I'm sure even like now, everywhere you go, people probably ask you how things are going with it, and even with the show and everything else. Like hockey becomes a big part of hockey people's identities, and you almost feel like you have to adhere to the norms, otherwise you're going to be othered. And because of the language I heard every day, this gay thing was so opposite to hockey, and was seen as such a negative in that space. As I can't be gay and play. um the things that motivated me to come out, well, first I came out. I feel like I'm always coming out, to be honest, but the first time I came out was to like family, and it was because I was friends with Brendan Burke, Brian's son. And after Brendan came out, I reached out to him. We would chat like pretty much every day. And then one day he sent me a text and it said, I can't wait for the day that you're out to your family like I am to mine. And I ignored him because my family was so involved in sport. My brother's first round pick in the O, played pro. My dad coached AAA and junior hockey for 30 plus years. And I was afraid they'd become more sensitive to the language used in locker rooms and on the ice, stand up to it, and potentially out me. So I ignored Brendan. And those ended up being the last words he ever said to me. 2 days later, he died in a car accident. And I came out to my family and to all my friends who are involved in hockey to honor him. And then even after I retired, I didn't even come out. I was working with hockey players. There's a few things that inspired me. Number one, I was seeing some discrimination because of my sexuality, even though I wasn't new, and it was kind of being used against me in the hockey world a little bit. And I wasn't getting opportunities to do things because of it, like my businesses weren't. And for no reason given, no explanation, just like, no, your business can't work with these teams, even though I could every other year. Then there's a massacre at Pulse nightclub in Orlando where 49 people were murdered for being part of the LGBTQ plus community. And it just really hit me because I was like, that could have been me and my friends in Toronto. It was in North America. And then there was a hockey player. I came to find out through a hockey mom, and I'm sure you get a lot of hockey parents watching this show or listening to this show rather. And I came to find out that all my athletes knew I was gay through a hockey mom, because this mom called me. I'm working with 100 hockey players a day, meant a lot of phone calls from hockey parents, but this call was different. Hockey parents are a unique breed of human, but this mom calls me and goes, Brock, I want to set you up on a date. And I said, what's her name? And she said, Steve. And I came to find out they all knew I was gay. And instead of, saying something to them, I started watching their behaviors. I started to notice they'd apologize to me anytime they said something homophobic. I started thinking maybe we're creating a shift here. And then I thought, or maybe they just like me, I'm one of the boys. I go on the ice and I chirp them. I out bench press them in the gym. They like me. So I didn't know how they acted when I wasn't around. And then one day I had a sprint coach working with some athletes on a track. And at the end of a 2-hour workout, he told them they had 10 more sprints. And the younger player looked at the sprint coach, minor hockey player, and said, this is so gay, I can't believe you're making us do this. And an OHL player looked at the young guy and said, we don't say that here, give me 50 push-ups. And then I saw all my athletes start to do push-ups to break the habits and to hold each other accountable, and then take it everywhere they went. And that guy that day created a shift in me that made me realize I could create shifts on a larger level. And those shifts have a ripple effect. And, they can help others, and they do, and you don't know the impact you'll have. It'll be greater than you could ever imagine.
Awesome. Brock McGillis, former professional ice hockey goaltender and LGBT plus advocate, joining us right now. You have been thoroughly recognized for your work by the hockey world, and just curious for you, why is it so important to share your story?
A couple of reasons. I guess from an LGBTQ plus perspective, I don't want any kid to feel the way I did. And sadly, they do. They can't be themselves, they hide, and it takes a long time. I mean, currently there's one out prospect in the game, and it's like, well, if that generation, Gen Z, is identified as LGBTQ plus at over 20%, we do some quick math and realize, a lot of people feel like they can't be themselves. And but I think a lot of my work, like my story, is a gateway to talking about creating shifts, and those shifts could be for anyone. And pick the topic: racism, homophobia, misogyny, ableism, mental health, bullying, the environment. That straight white kid who doesn't feel like they can conform to the culture and wants to play the sport. My story is a gateway to have deeper conversations about how we have to create shifts. And if my story can rally folks to realize impact, but then we can talk about broader topics, I think that's pretty powerful. And if we have data from my tour last year where we see the impact and they recognize the impact of their language, their behaviors, their attitudes, and they want to change. So to me, like, I think it is important. I think hockey also influences society, especially in Canada. So if we can use hockey as a way to get people to stop treating people bad, just in general, like, to me, that's pretty powerful and cool.
No, that's definitely some good conversation pieces there. And again, yeah, like it's just seeing people as humans. That was one of the things that I took away from being at the Hockey Canada Beyond the Boards Summit last week. Yeah, it's not that hard. And it's almost like you've kind of read my mind or gone through these interviews before, because that was nice transition into one of the reasons we want to bring you on here. It's, your story is one of those that's a very impactful story, but you're bringing that story across the country here. And so, we are going to have you in here in Edmonton, later on in the week. And so yeah, let us dive into the Culture Shift Tour. So just kind of briefly provide a little bit of an explanation on what the tour is and the goals of the tour.
So I always like doing things bold. I don't do anything small. And I had a crazy idea a few years ago where I was like, let's go to 100 hockey teams in 100 days across the country. And some corporate sponsors like Canadian Tire Jumpstart, amongst others, loved it. So we brought it to life, and last year was the first year of it. I went to, I think it was 104 teams in under 100 days. And this year we've expanded out. Last year I only did the NHL cities, and this year we've expanded out. We're going to go to 26 or 27 stops across the country. And we've renamed it this year Shift Makers Tour. And the goal is to create shift makers, to rally people. I think hockey people rally because I think we're good people. But we just need to know impact of, language, behaviors, and attitudes. And yeah, it's treating people like humans, but I think necessarily it's not humanized for us that you're hurting people. And I think that's the critical thing. And that's what I'm pretty good at doing is humanizing the impact of those language, behaviors, and attitudes. And I share my story, and then I show them how they can create shifts. And it's just like that player that day who said, we don't say that here, give me 50 push-ups. Those shifts, big or small, have a ripple effect. And we don't know the true impact we'll have. It'll be greater than we could ever imagine. Because of that guy, all these players started doing push-ups. And because of that guy, I realized the shifts I could create, and I came out. And because of that guy, we're talking right now. And take that a step further. I've been doing this work for 8 years, and thousands of people have come to me over the last 8 years, in some cases in really tough situations, life and death. And I've been able to help them get support. Like that guy that day, the ripple effect of his actions saved lives. And these shifts don't have to be for LGBTQ plus. They can be for anything or anyone. And if you make them, you're going to make this world just that much better. And it'll have a ripple effect. It'll be better for everybody. And that's the ultimate goal. So I use my story as a case study on impact, but it's also to break down the barriers. And then after we share that, I teach them how they can create shifts, humanizing issues, putting a face to something, it becomes more real. The environment we create. I think everyone's a good person, and the easiest way to create a good environment is through our language. Because the reality is, if you're a good person, you don't want to hurt people. And your words do. So let's teach them. So I teach them 5 different types of language and how they're impacting people with that. And it's pretty engaging. And I try and make this all really fun and light, because I think people when they have fun, they learn more. And I think sometimes these topics get very rigid and serious, and I get it. It's like, laws are being passed against people and different things, but we can have some fun and learn, and we can joke around, and I want them to laugh. I want them to engage. And the third way we can create a shift is through breaking conformity. Ever notice that every NHL player's interview sounds the exact same?
Yes.
Yep. Pucks in deep, shots on net, play for the logo on the front,
Gotta play
blah,
our
blah,
game.
blah. We dress the same, we talk the same, and we walk the same. I can pick out a hockey player anywhere I go. But that's a part of who they are, but it's not fully who they are. Yet they call themselves a family or brothers or sisters or some analogy like that. Boys or men's locker room, there's 4 things you can talk about: girls, video games, partying, and sports. And women's locker rooms can form very similarly. Yep. I don't know about you guys, but my family knows way more stuff about me than that. So we actually do breakouts where let's go deeper. You're a family. Tell the boys something you typically wouldn't tell them that you like, something you're embarrassed about, something you dislike that you think everyone else likes. And the answers are wild. Like, we get such cool stuff and powerful stuff, and they share, and it's good for coaches too that are sitting there and they learn more about their athletes. You know what I mean? And then these players start bonding on deeper levels, and there's a judgment-free zone that they can be more themselves, because they've done studies now in corporate culture where they say the more you can bring your full self to work, the happier you're going to be, and the happier you are, the more productive you are. Why would hockey be any different? And then beyond that, if you can bring your full self to the rink, you're going to be less likely to judge others for bringing their full selves. And we just foster better environments for every single person. And to me, that's cool and that's exciting and makes it better. Regardless if you're a straight white kid or if you're gay or if you're a person of color or you're a woman in a men's space, etc. It just makes it better for everybody. And and it allows them to not feel like they have to conform and fit in all the time, which is great and will grow our game and make it a better place and make it safe to be themselves.
Well, yeah, well said, Brock. I feel like you nailed it on the head there. There is like such a stigma towards hockey culture, and you said it. It doesn't have to be just coming out as gay, but it's you said you can just a hockey player when you see one. And it's unfortunate. It's like people are afraid to say, like for me, like I never, like, I love Pokemon cards. I love Pokemon. I love all that stuff growing up. But I'd never say that because you're afraid for
you'd be called gay.
Yeah, right. And it's like that's so wrong. And definitely a change is needed, and a change has started. And it's all thanks to people like you. You mentioned fun and light, and that's great. I love that process or that approach that you're taking to this. But I'm just curious, like, how do you handle? How does it feel like when someone comes to you and they say like Brock, like, you actually changed my kid's life, you changed my life, like, and going home knowing that you're changing people's lives on a day-to-day basis?
You know what? It's so wild. It's like you never know. Like, it's like the same thing as a hockey player, right? Like, I'm trying to create shifts, and you never know the impact you're going to have. Sometimes it happens in real time. Like, I had a player on the tour last year comes up to me and he's like, my teammates drew swastikas on my hotel mirror the weekend before, and I'm Jewish. And I'm like, oh. And he goes, Brock, you inspired me to tell them how it made me feel. And I'm like, this is wild. Like, I'm like, you want to talk to them? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, I was still in the city when their next practice was, so I went back in with them. And I got to facilitate. I got to work with him so he could share the impact it had on him, which I think is incredibly brave. And also, I got to talk to them about one of the types of language we talk about is silence, because 3 players did this, but 7 watched. And it's like, well, you're now going to be labeled the same way. And whether you did it or watched it, you're there, you're complicit, you're a bystander. Not using your voice not only hurt your friend, who now thinks you all want him dead, but it also hurts you, because now you're going to be seen in the same way as the 3 guys who did this. And having stories like that, or kids that, like, people who feel like, thank you, I can be a bit more myself now, and you're able to support them and be there for them, and hopefully they keep communicating with you. And it's powerful, it's wild, it's honestly still surreal, because like, I'm in the grind, I'm in the right in the mix of it, and you don't always take the time to think about it, but it's It's pretty damn cool. Actually, to go back to what I was saying earlier too, I think being yourself is the most brave thing you can do. You know, like we even talk about even in locker rooms, like laughter. And why do the boys laugh if everyone's chirping somebody? It's because they want to fit in. But if nobody laughed, they say that it would stop. It's just having the courage to be the first one. And we talk about toughness and courage and everything in our culture. Yet we don't always have the courage to be ourselves in terms of just sharing things we like, or the courage to like prevent stuff from happening that hurts our buddies.
Yeah, that's definitely a good perspective there. Just not even thinking of that different way of seeing that, and yeah, it's just a different perspective that you're bringing, and I think definitely beneficial to our listeners to hearing what you're saying and such. With the tour itself, you said you essentially a second year of this tour. What was the feedback, and what were people saying who have participated in the tour last year? What was the feedback that you were getting from the participants?
So I've been pretty lucky over the years. Feedback has always been positive. Like I've had NHL players come to me when they were in junior and say, "I'm taking this to the NHL with me." I work with NHL teams, and even the feedback there, or like even outside of hockey, like I worked with the Argos this year, and I think I played a part in their Grey Cup win. Actually,
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
um, that was a joke. You're allowed to laugh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it was. Yeah.
But no, but the feedback's been pretty phenomenal. Like we do an impact report where we do anonymous surveys with players across the country and with coaches, and the survey results were pretty wild. Like they surpassed even what I thought they would be. Like we had, like it was something like I think 90% of players said the session made them less likely to judge the differences in others. We had players say that the session 90%, or I think it was 95%, said the session made them recognize the impact of their language, um, and the impact words have on people. 95% said the session made them more receptive to welcoming others. Like, and we're seeing this across the board, coast to coast. Like that's pretty wild, and coaches are at the same level, if not higher. So people have been really receptive, and I think it's my approach. I'm not telling them what to think or what to say or how to act. It's up to them. Like I don't care. I couldn't give two shits how they feel about LGBTQ plus or anything else. I can show them impact. They got to follow their moral compass. And to me, that's the thing, right? It's I can show them impact. Hopefully, they critically think of the impact, but it's going to be their choice.
Right on. So just another quick question for you there, Brock. You probably answered this 1,000 times, but who knows? We could have some listeners. It's never a bad question to ask. I'm just curious. What advice would you give to players who have yet to come out?
I would say you have to put yourself in a really safe situation. I wouldn't just come out because you want like ensure you have people around you to support you, and do it when it's time for you. And to me, the first step, and that's more like home life if it's young people and whatnot, because I know in some provinces now they're even trying to have laws where if a kid comes out at school or anything, they inform parents, and that's lovely in theory. And even when I work with athletes or I go to schools, I want every parent to be involved if a kid comes out to me because it makes it easier. But the reality is, over 40% of unhoused and homeless youth in Canada are LGBTQ plus. That's like over double in the percentage of kids who are LGBTQ plus. So kids are getting kicked out of their home. Like I just did something with an NHL team where we took some homeless and unhoused youth and young people to an NHL game, and they're in a shelter, and this kid sitting beside me is this trans 17 or 18-year-old trans boy, and grew up playing hockey, had season tickets to NHL team, and then came out and was kicked out. And it's like, well, now this kid who grew up affluent is now on the streets. And it's like, so make sure you're in a safe space, and make sure you have people around you to ensure you're in a safe space. If you're struggling, talk to people like me who are there for you. And then after that, if you're worried about friends or the sport or anything else, don't worry about acceptance. Screw acceptance. Only you can accept you. And if you love yourself and accept yourself, you're not going to care what other people think of you. And that's powerful. It's hard, but it's probably the most powerful thing I've figured out.
No, that's definitely some good perspective there and such. And you nailed a little bit on your explanation there. And sometimes kids don't feel comfortable coming to their parents as the first conversation. And a lot of times, you hear it in all sports, not just hockey. The coach plays a significant role in a child's development as a whole, just as a person, right? And sometimes they are that confidant, or some of their teammates might be that confidant. They have those close relationships. What would you? Is there any advice you'd give to any of the coaches, players, teammates, to help support players that might be going through some of the challenges that you might have faced, and just being there for them, as a person, as a friend, as a mentor?
Totally. I think it's a few things, and I think it starts with ensuring you're creating environments where people feel like they can talk to you as a coach, right? Not enough coaches, I think, ask all their players about how they're doing, just in general. And I think I think we get so caught up in, okay, we got practice, and it's this, and then they have to go and work on this power play, and our power play is not good right now, and then we got to worry about wins and losses, blah 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 blah. I think when we put humans first, and we see how everyone's doing and everyone feels good, that power play is going to figure it out. That PK is going to figure it out. That forecheck is going to figure it out. But everyone's got to feel good. And if you create environments where everyone feels good because they can talk and they're being asked and they feel valued, then they're going to be more receptive. And the more we do that, the better it is. And then it's a safe space. And it's no different than language and sharing impact the language with players, and rallying them to stop using that the way those guys rallied with the push-ups, like finding your thing with your team to curb it, and use it as a challenge. And I think you'll see it. And then all of a sudden that gay kid goes, oh, my teammates don't hate me for being gay. I can be me. Because I think in theory, most hockey players today, especially young folks, are receptive to the idea of a gay teammate. I think their language, the behaviors don't necessarily match the thoughts, but in theory, they are receptive. So we just got to, take that and then be receptive, or change our language rather, so that it matches our thoughts. So I think overall, just for the well-being of all players, we need to talk more. We need to communicate. It's funny, one of my ex-players, when I was running hockey stuff, called me last year. He went and played in the A. He goes, Brock, my coaches hate me. I said, what do you mean, man? I said, you've been there 2 days. Like, you just signed. What do you mean they hate you? He goes, they haven't even said hi. They walk by me every day. They don't say a word. They hate me. I'm like, oh, well, welcome to pro hockey, pal. Like there's nothing to do with you. But that's an issue. if your players think you hate them and they're spending as much time with you as they are with, teachers or parents or anywhere else, you're a major influence in their lives. That's a problem.
Awesome. Just the last one from me here, Brock, and a lot of change, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, and just want to ask this: a lot of change has been done, all thanks to you. But is there any more significant change that you would like there to be made, or that you would like to see going forward?
Yeah, and listen, I don't want to take credit for the change that's happening. I mean, I do my little part, and hopefully it impacts, but the we still need to evolve the language in our sport. Like there's over, I think it was like 500 or 600 homophobic calls because in games last year or the year before, according to Hockey Canada, it was the most penalized thing in terms of like language. And I've talked to refs at all levels from junior down, and they tell me they're not even calling it most of the time because they don't see it as targeted towards a player. They see it, because who knows if that player is actually gay. And we got to change our words, man. Like nowhere else in society. Like, I don't know. I just finished speaking at a high school, and if a teacher looked at a student and said, "You got a D on this test, that's really gay," they'd probably lose their job.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to change it here so that we create environments where people can take part in the sport and don't want to die the way I did and aren't self-harming and drinking every day. Like it beats you down. It wears you down every single day when you're hearing that. And it's very common. So I think that's a big thing for me is let's change the words, and it's got to start at the top and at the bottom and like meet in the middle, and if we do that, I think the sport will be better for everyone.
No, for sure. That is one thing that was prevalent in that Beyond the Board Summit was the impact of the words and changing the language. That's definitely something that us as a sport really need to focus on. And again, it's not that difficult. We're not changing the game how it's played. It's just changing words, and it shouldn't be that difficult. Is there, as coaches, as players, as administrators, is there anything else that we can do to create that welcoming environment from your perspective?
I think continuing to teach impact. I think continuing to make people feel like they belong. I think being intolerant of the other stuff. I don't think suspensions work personally. I think we need to humanize issues, and then we need to engage and educate. And then people are going to screw up. It's inevitable. And yeah, we're going to suspend them. That's inevitable too. But I look at suspensions by themselves, I don't think do anything. Like I look at, there's a documentary called the third, I think it's called The 13th, and it was about prison system in America and how you go to jail in America and you just make products for a company, and you're not really reformed. And they compared that to, I think it was Denmark, and yeah, Denmark's a socialist country and they have their own issues, whatever. But there, when you're in jail, you work with, you're being reformed. You have people that are, whether it's education, whether it's like a therapist, different things that you do while you're in there to become a productive member of society when you leave. The reincarceration rate in Denmark is like 1%. The reincarceration rate in America is over 70%. I think we need to do more to first proactively set up environments where people realize the impact of their language, behaviors, attitudes, and that's what I'm doing. And then also reactively, when situations arise, we need to rehumanize and guide them and teach them so they don't do it again. It's cool. I've been doing that with a couple of junior leagues and with the GTHL, and it's really cool because you get to have these chats with the players and have them recognize and think about people in their lives who are LGBTQ plus, if it's a homophobic thing or whatever it is, and talk to them about, like, how would they feel if they heard this? You know, and the whole key is getting people to critically think. And when they do, they don't want to be bad people. Nobody does. So to me, that's the way to evolve it. And that's the way we can do it as coaches, administrators, etc.
Well, Brock, thank you for joining us. I mean, your resume speaks for itself. One of Governor General's choice for the King Charles III Coronation Award, Queerty Pride 50 People of the Year 2024, name of Hockey News 100 Most Influential People in Hockey in 2022, 23, and 24. And you helped the Toronto Argonauts win the Grey Cup yesterday. So unbelievable resume, man. Thank you for being you. Thank you for sharing your story, man. This is truly inspirational. I'm pretty new in media. I'm new in interviewing, but quite honestly, I know for a fact I'll remember this interview for the rest of my life, man. So thank you so much.
Well, that's very kind. Thank you. Hey, and gonna put a call out to Edmonton. We're very low on teams in Edmonton right now. And so I'm coming to the city from the 25th or 26th to the 30th. So coaches, managers, whoever's listening, parents, please get your team in. We want to, get to as many as possible while I'm there and maximize the time. So I'm going to nudge right now and beg a little to get your teams involved.
Yes, thank you very much for that. It's almost like you've kind of read the script here in some of the stuff that we want to talk about and such. So yes, definitely, folks. Like I said, the week Brock will be here this week, and again, if you haven't been inspired by his story already, hopefully listening to this interview and hearing him speak again. Hopefully motivates you to join us, bring your association out, bring your teams out. And again, definitely worth hearing him speak. Like I said, just took a lot away here from the 30 some odd minutes that we've had him on the air. And just again, a very good speaker and somebody who has been in the game. We're not talking about somebody who hasn't played the game. Obviously, you look at Brock's resume and such. Ontario Hockey League player, very, very good hockey player, and considering, as a goaltender and the mental aspect, again, never came close. I worked at a year-round goalie school. I was a goaltender, but never close to what you've accomplished in your career. And again, knowing that side and having to, go into an environment where, again, you can't really be true to yourself. And to still accomplish what you've done is, I take my hat off to you on that. And again, the difference that you're making after your playing career and making the game good. So again, yes, kind of was going to put that in my wrap up. But yes, if you're a association, a team, let your president know. Reach out to me, and we will work and facilitate with Brock and Brock's team to have him speak to your team.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words.
Awesome. Right on, Brock. Thank you for taking the time out of your day, and really, really appreciate this, man. Best of luck to you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Of course. Brock. Thank you. Wow. That was awesome, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's definitely something.
Got goosebumps right now.
Yeah, part and parcel. Not one of. I know you keep on saying how I bring it all the time and such, but that impact and those pausing and such, it just reflective in the interview, hearing his story. And one of the things that we talk about is no different than, what he hit on about being punitive in punishment and such, and how the better way is to educate. It's no different than when Carlia was on the show talking about the educational component. And again, the same thing that he said is what we heard at the Beyond the Board Summit. You're going to screw up when, when you're facing someone different than you. It's just natural because sometimes you don't know how to react. We're not bad people here. Again, same thing. Most people want to be good people. And again, it's okay to, mess up. Once again, what are you taking away and what are you learning from that situation as a whole, right? That's the most important thing. And like Brock said, the impact side of it, when you start to hear those stories and it's like, again, because you haven't been confronted with it, it's, again, not on the top of your mind, right? It's no different than when you're learning something new, right? You don't know it because you never come across it, right? So again, just that impact and such is good to hear. And again, like I said, with Brock, and you look at the difference makers in the game and really those pioneers and those really good people that you want to hear, they've been through the game. They understand it. Like I said, look at the playing resume. I mean, he is one of that top percentage. Yeah, he didn't play in the NHL, but guess what? He played in the O. He played professional. He played Collier University. Yeah, that's a career that a lot of people strive for. Exactly. And you had to be good to get there. And again, can you imagine if the environment was where he could be himself and accelerate even more than he did?
Yeah.
Man, like...
Yeah, and that's something that I kind of wanted to get into. Obviously, we don't have the most time there, but he had mentioned, and I was curious. Obviously, I didn't want to get too personal, but like he mentioned, it was obviously very difficult for him, and he said like it kind of that killed my career because I couldn't be me, right? And so that's the stuff. Like that's what he's trying to do now, right? Like he's the first person to do it, right? So he's going to help a lot of people along the way, and I know he's already helped like thousands of people. So just great stuff there from Brock McGillis, former professional ice hockey goaltender and LGBT plus advocate. Yeah, just unbelievable interview. I mean, like, that was so cool, man. Like, what a great get. Like, that was such a good guest that we had. And yeah, like, there were so many things that he touched on there, and just the one that's just so true. Like, I can pick out hockey boys 10 times out of 10. And you can, man. Like it's there is that stigma, like being in hockey. It's the hockey culture. You're too cool for almost anything, right? And like that's something that's got to change. And with the likes of Brock, and just the way there is a change. There is a change coming, and unfortunately, it's not like this. It's not you can't. It's not the. It does take time, but it's good that it started now. And here's hoping within the next hopefully 5 to 10 years, this is going to be a significant change.
Well, yeah, a couple of things that you hit on. Like, it's funny. I remember this might have been during the Oilers 06 Cup run. And you watch CBC with, watching the players walk in. They always went to Ray Emery because of his suits, just because they were so different. And it's like it's a suit, like,
yeah,
but you talk about that conformity, and that's one of the things we talked about at our table discussion is, again, yeah, Ray Emery was one of those players that was, flamboyant in the way he dressed, and some people, had issues with that. And again, it's just that idea of just being in a welcoming environment where you can be yourself. Like you talk about performing at your best. If you're not being yourself and feel comfortable in just being yourself and relaxing, you're not going to perform at your best, right? And again, if you're in that hockey environment as a teammate, you want that. It was no different than when we talked about last week on the injuries and being fit to play and being, 100% to go. This is no different. Being mentally 100% to be able to go there. I'm counting on you, as a goaltender. I was counting on my defensemen to have their head in the game to move the puck up. Likewise, the defensemen were counting on their forwards to be able to catch those passes and go and attack, the opposition, right? And again, if you have things in the back of your head and you're not living in that moment, you're not going to hold up your end of the bargain and perform, right? And the other thing that you talked about there, and just like Brock talked about, is this generation of kids, let's give them credit. They are more accepting, more and more accepting of people of differences. Yeah, you like Pokemon? Whatever.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times, you know, if a kid comes out or is, you know, he or she tells a story about being gay, yeah, it's no big deal
Yeah.
to them at the you know, and again, it's giving that generation some credit here. But again, you talk about just the unintended and non-deliberate ways, such as language, and again, just changing that word, like, or those statements. Those are statements that I grew up with as a kid,
Mhm.
not thinking about it. I didn't know if any of my friends were gay. You know,
Right.
I'm not directing it at you because you're gay. It's just that was just the way to express
Right.
yourself of something that wasn't nonconformist, right?
Mhm.
So again, that those words, that impact of silence, you're seeing some of the results, like you said about the teammates, and you know, you were there, you didn't speak up. Well, you know, that's one in the minor hockey system. There's one right now that has national attention, and that's the World Junior team, right?
Mhm.
And that same thing. There were people there that didn't speak up, and again, in some cases, it's because they didn't know how to speak up, but in some cases, they just chose not to, and you know, some of them have been implicated directly, and a lot of them have been tarred indirectly,
Yeah.
right? So again, you talk about just that language and the silence and changing silence as a whole, and that's what we talk about. It was really a light switch moment when I was sitting there at the tables and at the conference and such, and for me it was like, because you talk about hockey culture, and to me that was one of the things that I really had a challenge seeing. Is I looked at it strictly from the direct culture, our coach clinics, our mentorship programs. There is nowhere that we talk about not doing these things, right? You don't go there and call somebody a slur. Doesn't appear in any of our coaching clinics. I can guarantee none of our facilitators do that. But where it hit me, it's like, you know, using my MBA background and Bachelor of Commerce background, it's that water cooler culture where, again, it was silence. That's the culture that we really want to change there, is just that culture of silence and speaking out. And again, when you get more comfortable with that, you become a better leader,
Mhm.
right? Those are lessons I wish I knew, you know, long time ago, is how to protect or how to articulate yourself and such. And again, if you can sit there and feel comfortable enough to say, yeah, this isn't right, a lot of the things that you'll deal with in the real world, in the business world, and whatever walk of life, you know what, it isn't that bad in terms of having those difficult conversations. So again, this is why when we talk about hockey builds better people, this is what we want to see in that comfort level there. So
Yeah. This is the Hockey Edmonton Show. I'm YouTube Trev. That's Jeremy. As we wrap, we're almost on the final thoughts here of the show. We just heard from Brock McGillis. If you guys want to give him a follow, go ahead. He's on Instagram at Brock McGillis 33. I'll put it down in the description as well if you want to give him a follow. Good follow. He's always up to something. Looks like so. Yeah, I just gave him a follow right now. But yeah, as we dive into the final thoughts here, Jeremy. At the end of the day, hockey is a great game. We want to make sure that everyone feels welcome to play it. And I think you might have a little bit more on that.
yeah, definitely. Like I said, anybody that loves this game wants to see it succeed and flourish. Again, I'm lucky enough. I make a living in the administrative game. There's a lot of people that make money in development and a living in development and such. Again, we want to all see it thrive because of what it did for us in shaping our character. And one of the things that to do that is it takes zero effort to say that you are welcome here. And the actions that you use take zero effort at the end of the day. You know, make a conscious effort to avoid, you know, some of the traditional wording that you might have used. That takes little to no effort to make that change. Again, like I've said throughout this interview, or this show, I should say, we're not changing the way the game is played, and that was one of the takeaways. Again, somebody panelists from the summit there said that. So we're not changing the way the game is being played. All we're asking is to change the language that we're using, change some of those beliefs that you may have, and kind of hear perspectives of people that are different. Again, all of that does not take any effort at all to be a good person overall. So again, that's all that we're asking for in the game here. I know sometimes, when you talk about changing the game and such, people get worried because change is scary for a lot of people. But again, this is easy stuff that we can do. This is low-hanging fruit that doesn't take a lot of effort to actually do. And again, the big things is don't be afraid to make mistakes, because like Brock said, and like we heard through all of the panelists, the trans and the sexual preference orientation side of it, they said the exact same thing. People are going to make mistakes. People are going to screw up. Even they brought stories of how they screwed up within their sphere. And again, if these are people that have that lived experience, that are in that environment, and they can make mistakes, at the end of the day, as long as you're, not doing it out of spite, again, people are forgiving. Let's give people here credit that most people are good people and want to do good and want to be a welcoming environment and encourage that. So again, like I said, not a lot of effort to say that you're welcome in our game.
Awesome. And then I know Brock had mentioned a quick call to action, which was good, but he had mentioned that they are low on teams. So for anyone wanting to partake in the culture change movement, which is what he's obviously pushing, where can they go, Jeremy?
Yeah, so if you want to have Brock speak, again, he's very flexible in terms of where and when he can do his presentations over those 3 or 4 days there from the 26th to the 30th. Have your presidents reach out to me. If you're a team that's hearing this, again, if you're a U18, U15 team, again, here and you've liked what you've heard, and again, I would strongly encourage, regardless, the way he brings it from a player's perspective. He's a guy that was in the trenches, in the locker rooms. So again, not he's somebody that has that quote unquote street cred. Again, encourage your reach out to your presidents, have them contact me directly. All of your presidents know who I am, so again, they can flip me a quick email, and we'll work on the logistics with him or with your team and Brock's group there. And again, like I said, he's very accommodating, flexible. He's done these presentations in arenas to one team. He's done them in boardrooms for 4 teams type of thing. So again, very, very flexible. The big thing is let's get the message out. That's his big thing. So let's make sure that, we show that Edmonton is the city of champions. Let's start to build some more champions and instill our champions, our next group of leaders here, to make the game more welcoming as a whole. So again, I said that's kind of the challenges that Edmonton's a little bit behind a lot of the NHL teams in the participants. So again, let's get that out there.
Yeah. Let's go, Jeremy. Well said. Absolutely. Great show today, man. This was good. This was really, really good. Great conversation. Brock, an absolute rock star. This was probably we've had a lot of really good episodes, but this one might be my favorite so far. So this is episode 12 of the Hockey Edmonton Show. You're listening right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. I'm YouTube Trev. That's Jeremy Halischuk. And we'll be back next week for episode 13. Jeremy, thank you for everything today. This was a great show.
Oh no, thank you for everything. Again, showing your expertise and being
getting better.
Yeah, no, showing your expertise and leading us through this one. This was a good one.
Right on. Likewise, man. Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, leave a like, drop a comment down below. We read every single one. Thanks for all the continued support, and we'll see you in episode 13 next week. Ciao for now.